وخير الخلق قدوتنا تعال وزر وشاركنا وقم بالخير سابقنا لقانا في ابن تيمية وخير الخلق قدوتنا لقانا في ابن تيمية وخير الخلق قدوتنا لقانا في ابن تيمية وخير الخلق قدوتنا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي خلق الإنسان في أحسن تقويم وأمده بالفهم وحباه بالتكريم سبحانه. رفع شأن العلم فأقسم بالقلم وامتن على الإنسان فعلمه ما لم يكن يعلم. أعز العلم وأهله وذم الجهل وحزبه. وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وحبيبه أعرف الخلق بالله وأخشاهم له. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. We finished last week with the author's statement on the sunan of wudu, and we'll continue today with a statement on wajibat al-wudu. And keep in mind, khushu', deliberation in wudu, and perfection of wudu leads to khushu' and perfection of salah. Khushu' in salah is a fruit you reap in part from perfecting your wudu and your khushu' in wudu. It's not just a physical purification, it's also a spiritual purification for salah. The wudu acts must be perfected in order to attain khushu' in salah. It's forgiveness of sins to purify your soul for a pleasurable, joyous meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you analyze everything leading to salah, you'll see in one way or another it's to prep one for khushu' in salah. In the hadith that's agreed upon in the wording of Bukhari in it, إذا سمعتم الإقامة فامشوا إلى الصلاة وعليكم السكينة والوقار ولا تسرعوا فما أدركتم فصلوا وما فاتكم فأتموا. When you hear the iqamah, head to the salah in calmness and in tranquility. Don't rush, don't haste, don't run. You're better off missing some rak'at than running to the salah, because you're being prepared for a special meeting. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, pray whatever you're able to and complete what you missed, so you can maintain khushu' and be focused on your way to your salah. Only those who value their precious moments with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will appreciate dwelling into the detailed matters of wudu. You see, those who go back and forth with articles and advice on the most detailed ways on how to curl a bar to target the biceps or triceps, and how to perfect it for a maximum gain in your workout, and likewise the squats or the deadlifts. Yet one looks down on one who wants to learn the most extreme details of this essential ibadah, a ibadah that's not a bi-weekly workout. It's one performed numerous times day and night. And the acceptance of a ibadah that distinguishes a Muslim from a kafir is based on it. It's based on wudu, on your acceptance of wudu. I'm not going to go into the prior class and summarize it like I usually do. And that's because a student posted a fantabulous chart breaking down the classes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them, and you can refer to that and see. It'll help you focus better when you follow along with that chart and the book as well. We left off at the author's statement, وَأَمَّا الْوَاجِبُ فَغَسْلُ الْأَعْضَاءِ الثَّلَاثَةِ. The author started with wajibat al-wudu, which means the obligatory matters of wudu. Scholars diversify or interchangeably use the terms given to the obligatory matters of wudu. Some refer to the obligatory matters of wudu as wajibat, some refer to them as furū, and some refer to them as arkan, and here he referred to them as wajibat. And in the context used here, wajibat would be synonymous to fard and rukun. That's here, not all the time. And you'll see that in more detail when we talk about that arkan and wajibat as-salah, inshallah. The majority of the latter fuqaha divide the actions of wudu into wajibat and furū and sunan. The author here, we said, considered tasmiyah as a sunnah. Saying Bismillah before wudu, he said it's a sunnah. He adopted that opinion. That particular fiqh selection of his affected the way he categorized the actions of wudu. When he considered tasmiyah sunnah, he only needed two categories, a sunnah and a wajib. Because the other ulama who consider tasmiyah obligatory categorized it as a wajib. It's obligatory to them. It's obligatory to them, but at a slightly less rank than the other obligatory matters of wudu, which they refer to as furū. They consider tasmiyah, saying Bismillah, obligatory. But they didn't feel it would be at the level of the other furū of wudu, like washing the face that are mentioned in the verse, or wiping the head. So they placed it as a wajib, a category slightly under the fard. And then of course the third category, which would be the sunnah. So the author said, وَأَمَّا الْوَاجِبُ فَغَسْلُ الْأَعْضَاءِ الثَّلَاثَةِ. The wajibat of wudu. The wajibat of wudu are what are mentioned in the verse in Surah Al-Ma'idah in verse 6. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ. When you intend to offer salah, wash your faces and wash your, number two, wash your hands to the elbows, which of course includes the forearms, and rub or pass your wet fingers over your head. And the fourth one is wash your feet up to the ankles. The author, after he mentioned that, mentioned at-tartib, which is the order of wudu. Then he mentioned al-muwala, which is the sequence of wudu. And he included a shart after that, which is an-niyyah. وَأَمَّا الْوَاجِبُ فَغَسْلُ الْأَعْضَاءِ الثَّلَاثَةِ. The obligatory acts of wudu, he said, are three parts. They're so obvious, he didn't need to mention them. He said the obligatory parts are three. He put three together. He put three together. And he means by those three, washing the face, the arms to the mirfaq, which is the elbows, and the feet to the ankles. He mentioned them together because the commonality between them is that they're washed. Some ulama word it as washing the four parts. They include within them the head. Why do they include what's wiped with those that are washed and then refer to them all as washed? Because in Arabic, if they're predominantly washed parts, you can refer to them as washed acts, even if they may include one act that is wiped. The definition of a wajib here is what you get reward for if you do it, and you get sins for leaving it out. And let's take all three acts one by one. The first one is washing the face. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Ma'idah, فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. Washing the face is a fard by ijma' of the ulama. Washing the face with two hands is sunnah, meaning using both hands. In Sahih al-Bukhari, hadith Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma. Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anh took a handful of water and he did like this, meaning he joined both hands together, washed his face with both hands. Face is what faces people. The face is what faces people. Vertically, the face is from منبت ناصية الشعر إلى أسفل الذقن. منبت ناصية الشعر إلى أسفل الذقن. It starts at the forelock, the fore part of the head where the normal hairline of a person grows. And we say the normal hairline of a person grows because if someone is balding, it starts where the normal hairline would grow. And if someone's hairline grows early, in what's considered the face, like near the forehead spot of sujood, if the hair starts growing there, then it follows the ruling of the face, not the head. So we go by a normal person's hairline. Vertically, the face limit goes down all the way to the bottom of the chin for one who doesn't have facial hair, like women, or due to being a beardless young boy or a youth, or one who isn't able to grow a beard naturally from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If one has a beard, then vertically the limit goes up to where the beard starts growing. And from there you apply what we learned last week pertaining to washing over the beard and then permeating it with the fingers. We don't say it's for the bottom of the chin for one who shaves, because we don't use terminology that may infer approval of a munkar like shaving the beard. Now, horizontally, the face limit is sideways from ear to ear. And that includes the tragus, which many leave out, especially people who have beards. That area by the ear over there is included. The next issue is splashing water. Some splash water in the face either due to a habit, or some may do it because of a hadith or a supposed hadith in Musnad Ahmad on the authority of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma describing the wudu of Ali. In that hadith he said he took water in his hands and splashed it into his face. ثم أخذ بيديه فصك بهما وجهه. The hadith was classified by Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala as a munkar. It's actually disliked to splash water in the face. The face should be washed gently or normally. Ibn Umar كان يسن الماء على وجهه ولا يشنه أي يجريه عليه ولا يفرقه. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, the meaning of that athar is that he didn't splash his face, he washed it normally. Ibn Abi Shaybah related that Ibrahim al-Nakha'i said the companions of Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhum disliked splashing water in the face. They used to wash their faces gently and normally. As to the eyes, we'll start off with the eyelashes and eyebrows. Al-ahdab, eyelashes in Arabic are called ahdab. And the eyelashes and eyebrows, according to Maliki and Hanabila and Hanafiya, if it's thick, you wash over it. If it's light, it should be washed all the way down to the skin. Similar to what we said about the dense beard and a light beard in last halaqah. Shafi'iyya said it must be washed internally and externally. Do you permeate the eyebrows? Hanafiya said it's sunnah to permeate the eyebrows, and Malikiyya said it's makruh. The more correct approach to this entire matter is following the ruling that we learned pertaining to the light and dense beard, which is the opinion of the Hanafiya and Malikiyya and Hanabila that I mentioned earlier. We took the eyebrows, took the eyelashes, now the eyes themselves. Imam Malik related that when Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu performed ghusl from major impurity, he would wash his face, then yandah. Yandah means wash or spray or splash the inside of his eyes with water. So he basically put water and rinsed his eyes with water. In Nawawi in Al-Majmu' said Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma كان يغسل عينيه حتى عميا. He washed his eyes, meaning the inside of them, until he went blind. The Hanabila are divided on this issue. Some of the Hanabila specifically said the eyes shouldn't be washed, whether it's from major or minor impurity, and even if one is sure it will not harm him. Ibn Qudama said, Ibn Qudama is a Hanbali, but he was refuting the other Hanabila. He said, some Hanabila consider it mustahab or sunnah to wash the inside part of the eye. But when it results with something like what happened to Ibn Umar of losing his sight, if it's not haram, the least of it is makruh. Al-Shafi'i said, I don't know anyone who disputed that the inside of the eye shouldn't be washed. It's not sunnah, there's no hadith on it. No one but Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma did that from the Sahaba and Tabi'een. Imam Malik, who narrated it said it is not what we go by. So the only ones of the four madhahib who considered it sunnah was some of the Hanabila, and they were strongly refuted by another group of the Hanabila themselves. Nafi' said that Ibn Umar only did that when he washed from major impurity, from janaba ghusl, not all types of wudu, not the minor impurity. There's also a munkar hadith, which means a denounced hadith. Its classification is denounced, munkar, on the authority, supposedly on the authority of Abu Hurairah, that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam supposedly quenched. He said, quench your eyes with water, but that's a munkar hadith. Also, the internal part of the eyes does not get impure. It doesn't get a foul odor. It's actually self-purifying organ from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It purifies itself, leaving it without the need to be cleaned with water, and it's actually probably pure and cleaner left as is. And that was one of their rationales. Now the order here, washing the face, comes after rinsing the mouth and snuffing water. That's the order. That's the next mas'ala. There's a narration on the authority of Uthman, وَغَسَلَ وَجْهَهُ ثَلَاثًا وَمَضْمَضَ ثَلَاثًا وَاسْتَنْشَقَ ثَلَاثًا. In that narration, in Ad-Daraqutni, and it's weak, Uthman allegedly washed his face, then rinsed his mouth, and then snuffled water. It's weak, but even if it wasn't weak, the wording would not indicate the order, because wa doesn't necessarily always mean that same order. The last issue under the face is the neck. And Ibn Taymiyyah made it simple and clear. He said there's nothing authentic from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he himself wiped his neck in wudu. And there's nothing at all authentic in general about it. And that completes the face and issues pertaining to the face. And the second part after that is washing the hands to the elbows. Washing the hands is mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah as well, verse number 6, وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ, the hands, the forearms, the elbows. Washing the hands to the elbows is among wajibat and furū of the wudu, and it's agreed upon. There's an ijma' on washing the hands and forearms to the elbows that's related by many ulama like Ibn Abd al-Barr and al-Tabari and Ibn al-Mundhir and Ibn Rushd and Ibn Hazm and the Tahawi and al-Shafi'i and many other ulama, meaning there's an ijma' on it, it's consensus. Uthman made wudu, as in Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim said, ثم غسل يده اليمنى إلى المرفق ثلاثا ثم غسل يده اليسرى إلى المرفق ثلاثا. He washed his right arm up to the elbow 3 times, and then he washed his left arm up to the elbow twice. It's also the consistent act of the Sahaba and Tabi'een. No one left it out. No one doubted it. Ata said there's no doubt pertaining to washing the arms and forearms to the elbows. Now here, there's an issue about re-washing the hand. We already washed the hand when we started our wudu in the sunan. We mentioned it in the sunan. The author considered washing the hands before wudu a sunnah. We talked about that. Now we're talking about washing hands as an internal part of wudu, and that is wajib, and in order-wise, it comes after the face. After washing the face, when you get to your hands now, you need to wash the hands again from the tip of the fingers to the elbow. Meaning you can't say, I just washed my hands to the wrist when I started and they're already going to be wet. So let me take it on from the wrist all the way to the elbow. You must wash the hands again, and that's a different, separate act of wudu. You go from the tip of the fingers all the way to the elbows. That's after the face. If someone made wudu, washed his hands, the washing before wudu that we mentioned in the sunan, then rinsed, then snuffed water, then washed the face, then he reached this point that we're at right here, and he washes from the wrist to the elbow, thinking the washing before wudu was sufficient, the majority of the ulama would deem that person's wudu invalid. After the face, one needs to wash from the tip of the fingers, everything, all the way to the elbow. There's two rationales for that. The first washing of the hands was a sunnah. This is a wajib. And secondly, he's also messing up the order if he does that. He's considering the first hand washing sufficient, and then after he does the face, he's using that one again. That's messing up the order of wudu. Let's assume someone adopts and intends the first hand washing prior to wudu is not sunnah, but wajib. That's his intention. He intends and believes that it was wajib. He started his wudu. Then after the face, he said, I'm not doing my hands again, I'm going to start from my wrist all the way to the elbow, because I believe this is wajib and that one's wajib. According to the ulama that say order in wudu is wajib, his wudu is still invalid because he messed up the order. He had the face in between washing the hands, and that is not the order of wudu. It's hands to wrist, face, then hands again. The ulama who don't consider the order of wudu a wajib consider this wudu a valid one. And we'll get to the issue of the order in wudu later on, inshallah. According to the Hanafiya, regardless if the first wash prior to starting the wudu was intended as fard or sunnah, they said it doesn't matter. If one washes the hands to the wrist in the beginning of wudu, then the face, he washes just from the wrist to the elbow the second time, they said that's accepted. According to the Hanafiya. Malikiyya don't believe the order of wudu is wajib. So if one did the first hand washing and then the face, then went from the wrist to the elbow, they said it's accepted if he intends it to be wajib. They said he must intend the first one to be wajib. And the correct opinion is that after the face, one should wash from the tip of the fingers all the way up to the elbows with the forearms and everything, of course. The next issue, is the elbow included or is it up to the elbow? Meaning you stop short of the elbow. As clear as the proof we mentioned is, sometimes like this mas'ala, disputes arise. The four imams agreed that it's wajib to include the elbow. Al-Shafi'i went on further to say in his book that there's an ijma' on this matter that you must include the elbow. There's a second opinion, and it's the opinion of Ibn Hazm, and it's supposedly a second opinion by both Imam Malik and Imam Ahmad. They had an opinion with the first opinion, and now there's a second opinion here. It's also the opinion of Zufar, and it's also the opinion of Abu Bakr and Ibn Dawood, that the elbows are not included. And they said, ila al-marafiq, in the verse, ila means up to the elbows, which means they're not included. Up to means they're not included. The great vast majority, and those who related the ijma' that the elbows are included, they refuted it back with rationales as well. They said, ila means, in Arabic, ma, with. So it's included. And they showed several verses in the Quran where ila in Arabic means ma, which means with. So that means the elbows are included. For example, وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ. They said إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ means with their shayateen. The group who said elbows must be included also used another rationale. They said assuming ila means up to, which is in Arabic called ghaya, then if the destiny or border or limit of what you're talking about is of same nature, then it must be included. Meaning we're ordered to wash the hands and then the forearms up to the elbows. There's no substantive distinction between the forearms and the elbows. They're all the same. There's nothing different here. So they said it must be included. And the action, the bottom line is the action of the messenger and the Sahaba clearly indicate the elbows should be included. Some Sahaba, like Ibn Abi Shayba related, with past the elbows, like Ibn Umar and Abu Huraira. Even in Sahih Muslim, Abu Huraira washed his right and left hand with a portion of the arm, as the hadith states, which shows the elbow would be included. And when they say it reached the arm, it means it went past the elbow. Ibn Hajar said, Shafi'i related that there's an ijma' on this matter, and Zufar and others who came after the ijma' have no legitimacy in their dispute. Why? Because ijma' is consensus. Ijma' is proof in itself if it's really established. And once it's established, if there's a dispute after it, it has no merit. Ibn Hajar said the dispute came after the ijma', so it has no merit, and we don't have any authentic narration that the Messenger ﷺ left out washing the elbows. Their proof is inferred from the meaning of ila in the verse, which could have multiple meanings, and refuted in multiple ways, just as they have their arguments. The ahadith and ijma' confirm and support, and that's what's important, that the elbows are included. Now there's another mas'ala. If one has an additional finger or limbs within the parts that you're supposed to wash. I had a friend when I was younger, he had an extra finger. Does he have to wash that extra finger? By agreement of all four madhahib, they said they must wash it. They compared it to a wart. If someone has a wart, it must be washed. They said that's the same thing. Another similar issue, which An-Nawawi mentioned, is that if part of someone's hand or body part, which is part of wudu, is amputated, and part of it remains intact, it's a must in a wajib to wash what's left. Someone lost 4 fingers, he only has 1 finger left. He can't neglect or say, oh, I just have 1 finger, there's no need to wash it. It must be washed. And now we said, I don't know of any dispute on this matter. The next issue, we established that we must include the elbows. Now, and this is an important mas'ala, is it better to go beyond the elbows and include the adud? The adud is the arm. Is one better off stopping here at the elbow or going above to the... And I was telling a dear student how I learned the term al-adud. I was actually 8 years old and it was part of my homework in Medina. So I asked my father, and I remember every detail about it and even how I was leaning on the bed when I asked him. So you never neglect answering such questions to your kids or even bringing them up, because they have a lasting effect. And my father told me the term is in the Quran, because I brought it from school, from maybe a science class, and he told me that term is in the Quran. He said, قَالَ سَنَشُدُّ عَضُدَكَ بِأَخِيكَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Musa alayhi salam, will strengthen your arm with your brother. He mentioned the verse to support it. And that explanation never departed my mind since. He said, from the deep eloquence of the Quran, is that it shows the physical and moral support between Musa and Harun alayhimus salam. Allah is telling Musa, your brother will be your support. And when 2 people are very close and inseparable in shadows of each other, you get the image of them going everywhere with each other, walking back and forth with each other, heading to go give da'wah to Fir'aun side by side. And when they walk next to each other, the arm is next to the arm. The adud is next to each other. قَالَ سَنَشُدُّ عَضُدَكَ بِأَخِيكَ. That's not our point here. Our point here is in wudu. Do you go past the elbow to the adud? Or even more than that, to the mankibain. You go to, which is, mankibain is the shoulders. Or even the abat, which is the underarm. Should one wash those? Is it better? You don't have to, that's clear. But is it better to go beyond that? The majority, Hanafiya, Shafi'iyya, and Hanabila, they say it's better to go above the elbows. When washing the hands, you reach your elbow, you go above. And the same applies to the feet. When reaching the ankles, go above that. The same concept is there. The proof centers around the hadith of Abu Hurairah that's in Sahih Muslim. Now mention the hadith because that's the summit peak of their proof. It's on the authority of Nu'aym ibn Abdullah al-Mujmir. He said, رأيت أبا هريرة يتوضأ فغسل وجهه فأسبغ الوضوء. He washed Abu Hurairah. I saw Abu Hurairah wash his face. He washed it fully. He washed the wudu. He made the wudu complete and full. ثم غسل يده اليمنى حتى أشرع في العضد. He washed his right hand until he reached the arm. ثم يده اليسرى حتى أشرع في العضد. He washed the left hand until he reached the arm. ثم مسح رأسه. He wiped his head. ثم غسل رجله اليمنى حتى أشرع في الساق. Then he washed his right foot until he reached the shank. ثم غسل رجله اليسرى حتى أشرع في الساق. Then he washed his left foot until he reached the shank. ثم قال هكذا رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يتوضأ. Then he said, that's how I saw the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala performing his wudu. Abu Hurairah then said, and this is a strong part of their proof, وقال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أنتم الغر المحجلون يوم القيامة من إسباغ الوضوء فمن استطاع منكم فليطل غرته وتحجيله. Abu Hurairah added, he said that the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, your faces, hands and feet, the areas of wudu will be bright on the day of Judgment Day because of how you perfect your wudu. Whoever can increase the brightness of their forehead and hands and legs, then let them do so. So the first opinion, the majority of the four Imams, they say it's better, like we stated, they say it's better to go beyond the elbows and likewise the ankles of the feet, go above that. And their proof centers around that hadith that I mentioned, and more so that last statement. And earlier in the hadith when Abu Hurairah washed his hands until he reached the arms, and when he washed his feet until he reached his shank, that is their proof, along with the last statement of the hadith. That's the first opinion. The second opinion is that of Madhab al-Malikiyya, and it's a second opinion by Imam Ahmad. He has an opinion with the first camp, and he has an opinion here, and it's what Ibn Taymiyyah and his student Ibn al-Qayyim chose. They said one should not go beyond the elbows and ankles. The limit is that you include the elbows and ankles, but that's it. You don't pass that. And Ibn Taymiyyah said, it's confirmed from the wudu of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he didn't go beyond the elbows when washing the hands, nor the ankles when washing his feet, nor did he wipe his neck, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I believe that's the correct opinion. And let me give you just 5 or 6 points as to why it's the correct opinion not to go beyond the ankles and elbows. For someone who's a ظالم لنفسه in طلب العلم, knowing the bottom line, this is the authentic opinion, would be sufficient. That's a ظالم لنفسه. Then a muqtasid would know the various opinions and why this is the correct opinion. سابق in طلب العلم is the one who inshallah will benefit from the reasons and proofs and rationales and details, and not just for this issue but for other issues, and to see how ulama rationalize and think and develop arguments and rebuttals, and for the ajr of the ilm as well. And I like to always reiterate this point to show you that there's various levels that we're teaching. Now the first point that I wanted to tell you is the verse in the Quran, and it's among the last that which was revealed. It specifies to the elbows and it specifies to the ankles. Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 6. That's number 1. Number 2, the hadith of the first camp that they used, it's in Sahih Muslim. It's authentic, no dispute. But the addition at the very end of the hadith is disputed. The part where Abu Huraira said, he who can increase the brightness of his forehead, which is referred to as al-ghurra, and the tahjil, whoever can increase that, which is the brightness of the tahjil is the hands and the legs, then let him do so. And ghurra is the forehead. Here Ibn Hajar, Ibn Taymiyyah, and Ibn al-Qayyim said the ending part of that hadith, that specific statement, is from the wording of Abu Hurairah, not Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ibn Hajar said, I researched that from 10 other narrations of 10 different Sahaba who narrated it, none of them had that addition. There's many, of course, who heard it from Abu Hurairah as well. Ibn Hajar said, from all the narrators that took it from Abu Hurairah, the only narrator that had that addition was Nu'aym ibn Abdullah al-Mujmir. In Musnad Ahmad, the narration of that hadith, Nu'aym ibn Abdullah himself clearly said, I don't know if that last statement is the statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or that of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. That's number 2. Number 3, Ibn al-Qayyim in Zad al-Ma'ad said, it was Abu Hurairah's ijtihad, his educated opinion, to go beyond the ankles and elbow. But as to the narration itself, we said they used part of the hadith within the hadith, other than the last part. He's talking about the statement where he said the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam ashra'a fi as-saq aw fi al-adud, that he reached the arms and the shank within the hadith, that the Messenger reached the arms and the shank. It's only an expression to show that he was including the ankles and elbows, as he said in Zayd al-Ma'ad. Realistically speaking, you can't wash the ankles and elbows without reaching a bit from the arm or shank. He's saying the Messenger didn't wash the arms all the way and the shank all the way. He was merely doing his elbows and ankles, and his washing reached the arms and the shank. The 4th point, aside from Hadith Abu Hurairah, there's a narration in the description of Hadith Uthman radiallahu anhu on the wudu of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that he reached the adudain, the arms. That addition that he reached, al-adudain, is in ad-Daraqutni. It's not authentic for several reasons. Among them is that hadith of Uthman in ad-Daraqutni is also in Bukhari and Muslim. And in Bukhari and Muslim, the versions don't include all the way up to the arm. When it's the same hadith as in ad-Daraqutni and in Bukhari and Muslim, yet Bukhari and Muslim's versions don't have that addition that's in ad-Daraqutni, it gives red flags and means there's an issue. That's among the fact that there's other issues with it. The 6th point, the 5th point. The 5th point is proven that Abu Hurairah, the 5th point is that it's proven that Abu Hurairah did wash all the way up to the arm, and beyond it, the armpits, underarms, he did do that. In Musannaf ibn Abi Shaybah, it's reported twice that when Abu Hurairah was asked, he said he wants to perfect his tahjil. Tahjil is the area of brightness that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said would be bright from the effect of the wudu. His ijtihad was, he increases it, the brightness will increase in the akhirah. You can infer from the answer of Abu Hurairah that it was his personal ijtihad from the hadith of tahjil and ghurra. Had he learned it from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam directly, or saw the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam do it or order it, he would have responded by clearly saying, I saw the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam do it. But the answer of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh indicated it was his own ijtihad. Now the 6th point. The 6th point is Abu Hurairah used to go out of his way to hide washing up to his underarms in wudu, as reported in Sahih Muslim. he was spotted by Abu Hazim. Abu Hazim said, كنت خلف أبي هريرة وهو يتوضأ للصلاة فكان يمد يده حتى تبلغ إبطه. Abu Hazim said, I seen Abu Huraira performing wudu. And he was extending his washing until he reached his armpit. فقلت يا أبا هريرة ما هذا الوضوء? He said, Abu Hazim said, I said, Abu Huraira, what kind of wudu is this? فقال يا بني فروخ أنتم ها هنا لو علمت أنكم ها هنا ما توضأت هذا الوضوء. O tribe of Furū, you're here? Had I known you were here, I would have never performed this wudu. لو علمت أنكم ها هنا ما توضأت هذا الوضوء. If I knew you were here, I would not have performed this wudu. سمعت خليلي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول تبلغ الحلية من المؤمن حيث يبلغ الوضوء. I heard my friend sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, a believer's adornment would reach the places where wudu reaches. And in response to that, let me give you an A, B, and a C. He didn't say, I saw the messenger do it or order it in clear, unequivocal terms. His answer implies an understanding from a statement. A believer's adornment would reach the places where wudu reaches. His ijtihad, if I extend my wudu, my adornment will be extended. But more important and more clear is B. If it was sunnah, not ijtihad, Abu Huraira wouldn't hide it. A faqih and a mujtahid like Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu was of course among the biggest and best mujtahideen of this ummah. He may adapt his own opinion on some matters, yet not relate them to others, because it's his own understanding. But why would he hide it? Because a mujtahid may not deem it strong enough to convey. It's at a certain time of his ijtihad where he doesn't feel he can convey it. So he reserves it to himself and for his own personal practice only. That's B. C, Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu memorized to preserve the sunnah and convey it, not to hide it. And Abu Huraira was a man and a real man. The only reason he would hide it would be that it's his own ijtihad. There were specific examples where Abu Huraira revealed a hadith where people gave him a hard time about. Yet he persistently revealed it and continued. In the hadith reported in Bukhari and Muslim, some people felt that hadith that he said was strange and they turned away from it. Abu Huraira said, Wallahi, I'll stay after you about it and continue and persist in proclaiming it. ما لي أراكم عنها معرضين والله لأرمين بها بين أكتافكم. I think the seventh point. The seventh point is in some narrations in Sahih Muslim, at the end, Abu Huraira said, after he went beyond the elbows, until he reached the arm or until he reached the shank, then he said, that's how I seen the messenger perform wudu. Like the hadith that I mentioned when I mentioned the first opinion. He said in it, that's how the messenger performed the wudu. And that needs clarification. What he means is that's how I seen the messenger perform the wudu after completing all his wudu. He said that after completing all his wudu. That statement pertains to the overall wudu he mentioned. The main aspects and acts of the wudu and how he seen the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam make wudu. In this case, does it necessarily pertain or include the detail of going beyond the elbows and ankles? And another response, and it's what Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned earlier, that hadith, in the way it's stated, is just to show that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wudu encompassed the elbow and the ankles, not that he washed the arms and shank أشرع في العضد أو في الساق. He reached the arms, he reached the calf. It's only an expression to show he was just including the ankles and elbows. And another point, I'll give you another point. Washing the arms and shoulders or the shank were not narrated in the wudu ahadith that we referenced many times, like that of Hadith Uthman and Ali, Abdullah bin Zayd and other Sahaba, other than Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. A ninth point, Ibn Abi Shaybah specifically narrated that An-Nakha'i stated that he disliked and considered it makruh to wash the underarms in wudu. And another point, I think it's number 10, we'll conclude with number 10. Ibn Abi Shaybah related that Ibn Umar used to wash his underarms in summer during wudu. And that's used as proof. The response is, the fact that the narration specifies summer shows that he didn't consider it sunnah. Because if it's sunnah, and it's a sunnah, and he considered it so, it's not a seasonal sunnah. He would have did it summer and winter. Actually, let me wrap it up with another point. In the hadith, ghurra, that's mentioned, the forelock, and it comes from the forelock of a horse, the forelock of a faras. If I want to exaggerate my ghurra, the forelock in wudu, what do? I wash from the start of the hairline, but I want to exaggerate it. If I want to exaggerate my wudu in that matter, in that particular matter, according to the first opinion, then I need to wash some of my head. Wash it. When I wash it, I want to exaggerate, I wash from here. The increasing of the ghurra made me wash part of my hair with my face. The sunnah is what? To wipe or wash the head. The sunnah is to wipe the head. And that shows that it's the accurate opinion. There's other points, but that shows that's sufficient to show that's the accurate opinion which Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah adopted, and Ibn al-Qayyim, in that not to go past the elbows and ankles. We took the face and what pertains to it, and we finished the arms to the elbows, and the third part that we have is the feet to the ankles. And I wanted to finish that part today, but we'll continue with it, or we'll start off with it next week, because we have to stop for salah. Jazakumullahu khair, wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.